I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hi, this is Luke Ryan for JoBlo.com and welcome to our breakdown of the brand new trailer for Blade Runner 2049. Go check out the trailer if you haven't seen it already and we'll dive right into it. The trailer opens with a landscape very reminiscent of the opening scenes of the original Blade Runner film as we follow a flying car between two skyscrapers. Note the huge Atari advertisements on the buildings. Back in 1982, Atari was a big deal and was reflected as such in the original movie's timeline of 2019. And while Atari has long since died out, in the 2049 timeline of this new sequel, Atari is apparently still around, which isn't really here or there, but it's a cool detail and a piece of continuity with the first film. We then see Ryan Gosling's character Agent K enter an enormous temple-like building, and it's worth saying right off the bat, this film looks stunning. Agent K is led down a hallway lined with presumably the bodies of replicants suspended in animation. I'm assuming you're brushed up on the original film, but of course replicants are humanoid labour machines with a short lifespan, though the ones inside the glass cases we see in the trailer seem to be templates, not fully finished models. Something we've never seen before is the birth of a replicant, which we get a brief glance at with the body sliding out of a plastic tube in genuinely disturbing fashion. We hear Jared Leto's character Wallace, a manufacturer of replicants, saying these words.
Every civilization was built off the back of a disposable workforce, but I can only make so many. Happy birthday.
Again, an upsetting visual image of this newly born replicant being brought into existence in a very cold and sterile manner, both from the bare and vast surroundings of the building to the lifeless tone of Wallace's voice. We can also see his eyes are clouded over and we can see some kind of electrical implant in his neck and a device behind his ear. Could it be that he is a replicant himself? That's a question you can ask of almost any character appearing in the trailer. Regardless, he appears to be the quote-unquote villain of the film from this initial setup. In more shots that heavily evoke the iconic visual style of the original Blade Runner, we see Agent K back in the city and we hear Robin Wright's character telling him this.
There is an order to things. That's what we do here.
She too appears to be quite an icy character, but is more than likely a senior officer who Agent K works under. We see him looking at his gun, which is incredibly close in design to Deckard's gun from the original film, blood streaked down his face, no doubt after a serious altercation. More shots of LA follow with 3D holograms towering over the streets, moody neon lighting, and a rooftop scene between Agent K and the character Joy. They appear to either already have a close relationship or have just gone through something traumatic, and again, just by comparison to the original film and the romantic nature of Deckard and Rachel's relationship, it's easy to draw comparisons and assume that Joy is also a replicant. For the first time we see a different city in the world of Blade Runner with this shot of Agent K arriving outside of a derelict city that some have speculated could be Las Vegas. K approaches a building and enters, and if you flip the image around you can see that the place was perhaps once known as the Vintage Casino, which certainly lends weight to the Las Vegas theory. At this point we hear Harrison Ford's Deckard, so let's go back and take a listen to this exchange.
You're a cop. I did your job once. I was good at it. I know. What do you want? I want to ask you some questions.
So right out of the gate, Deckard is back, and we knew that Harrison Ford was going to be back in the film since it was announced in the previous trailer, but how and why is Deckard back? One of the biggest plot debates of all time is whether or not Deckard was in fact a replicant in the original film, with director Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford both having different ideas on the matter. We can see by the shot of the wire that not only is Deckard holed up in hiding, he's actively trying to prevent anyone from getting close to him, which begs the question of why. Why has Deckard gone into hiding? With gun in hand, he was clearly ready for someone to come looking for him, and when Kay says he wants to ask him some questions, could they in fact be the very same questions that Deckard once used to detect a replicant? Seeing Deckard subjected to the Voight-Kampff test from the original film could be an incredible moment, and you have to wonder whether the decades-long ambiguity of whether or not he is a replicant will be answered in the sequel. We also get a look at two characters who seem to be almost carbon copies of Daryl Hannah's character from Blade Runner Pris. From the outlandish clothing to the hairstyle, there's a lot of similarities. Wallace's voice pipes in over the trailer saying that the key to the future is finally unearthed, as we see Kay uncovering a date on a rock, 6/10/21. Perhaps a grave. That would be almost exactly 2 years after the events of the first movie, which took place in 2019, and given the few years of life that replicants have, it could very easily be assumed that this could be the grave of Rachel. Or it could be the marker of some event that happened in 2021 that is vital to the backstory of this new film. We're then introduced to yet another new character who seems to be working under Wallace, and she looks incredibly similar to Rachel from the first movie with the same hairstyle, some even believing she is Rachel, simply recast. It's an interesting theory, but given the similarities of some characters in the trailer to past characters, it could be that these replicants have been built not only to replicate humans, but to mimic the likeness of past replicants. Either way, she seems to be a villain in the film, as we next see her inside a spinner shooting at Agent K. We cut back to Harrison Ford as he spots someone coming after them, and we also see that Deckard has a canine companion with him. The next part is really intriguing though, as someone runs through the marble wall to pull Deckard out of harm's way. Presumably this is Agent K, and if so, that's no mere human act. Again, the question has to be raised, is Kay a replicant? One of the countless cool shots in the trailer shows some kind of holographic showroom with what appears to be Elvis on stage. Another character we get a small peek at is the one played by Dave Bautista. Nothing is known about him at this point, though he's unsurprisingly very physical as he throws someone through a wall. Yet another unbelievably cool shot in the trailer sees Agent K on a walkway looking at a gigantic hologram, which has also been speculated to be the character Joy, who we see again in a huge skyscraper advertisement. It's very possible, if she is a replicant, that she's a popular pleasure model. We're treated to even more new locations, with Agent K standing outside this burning building and exiting a camouflage car or shuttle in some woods. We get a very quick glimpse of Wallace's muscle inside a vehicle with Deckard, who appears to be handcuffed, and then we get lots of quick cuts including Deckard punching someone out, Agent K freaking out in one scene, and facing off against unknown enemies in another in Las Vegas. In an additional visual callback to one of the first shots of Blade Runner, we see an extreme close-up of an eye, dull and eerily lifeless. And here's the final moment of the trailer before we wrap things up.
I always told you, you're special. Your story isn't over yet. There's still a page left.
So Joy always told Agent K that he was special, which alludes to them having a pre-existing relationship, and perhaps a troubled one. The line about K's story not being over yet and the visual of a book with pages torn out hints at either a past or a future that K is unaware of for himself. And his intense expression in the last shot definitely tells you he's learned something that changes everything he thought he knew. Overall, it was one hell of a trailer full of eye-popping visuals, stunning cinematography, incredible music, and perhaps most importantly, an intriguing tease of what the story is going to entail. We'll have to wait and find out in October who exactly is or isn't a replicant, but hey, maybe everyone's a replicant. What are your thoughts on the trailer? Is there anything we missed? Let us know down below, and thanks for watching.